I think that there has been a lot of very inspirational presentation and talks on all these different solutions, problems and solutions. And maybe the easy part is to identify problems. I would say by now we kind of know what the problems are, but it's more difficult to find solutions and to find innovative solutions. But I think what is interesting is to look at it from that global perspective. We live in this global world, we have global problems, but at the same time, solutions cannot be only one. There is no global solution. And I think that in that sense, the Himalayan consensus is a little bit like the SDGs. You know, we look at all the problems that affect the world, and we have all these global goals, but we have to localize the SDGs. We have to make sure that each country, each region in a country has localized the SDG. And maybe in that sense, this collaboration between the Himalayan consensus and the UN on the SDGs is very natural because it really boils down to the same logic. There has been really nice ideas that were presented during this conference. Some about the insurance against natural disasters. If this happens really as it should, that will make our job as UN much easier, I can tell you. There was also this issue of renewable energy at local level that can solve so many problems. I love the one on cardamom for peace. First, it's a very catchy title, but I think it's a very good example of how you can straddle the space between peace and inclusive growth, how these two actually work together and can work together. But I think what is also very interesting, since we have David here and the old Himalayan Hindu Kush region, is to transform what was initially a divider, because the Himalayans were dividing, I would say, countries, and we have transformed the Himalaya into a connector. And that is what is really a great idea in all this reflection. But as UN, you can expect me to say that I want to come back on one issue that is important in the SDGs and for the UN. It's leaving no one behind. And I know that it has been in most of your reflection and discussions and so on and so forth. But you know, with the enthusiasm, when we talk about inclusive growth, the enthusiasm that is good into looking at growth can sometimes lead us to drop the inclusive. Because this is what's happening already today. Growth is very much going on, inclusive not so much. So therefore, I want to insist on that. We have to have an inclusive growth. Because otherwise, we may fix something, but we are going to create a much bigger problem afterwards. I know you were lucky yesterday because you met Sophia the robot. And I must say we had, with UNDP, a conference at the beginning of the week on technology and so on and so forth. And it's true that technology, and we've discussed it in all these different panels, technology, artificial intelligence can actually bear a lot of promises because they can bring a lot of solutions to a lot of our problems. But there is also a risk of widening the inequalities, a risk of making somewhat the rich richer and the poor poorer. And definitely we don't want that to happen. Actually, the previous panel, just before we completed the conference, was talking about some issues of gender. And actually the digital divide is very much, from a gender perspective, a divide as well. And if there is not a conscious effort of the states to address that, to educate women and to give them all the same opportunity, I bet you in 10 years' time we can come back here and the divide will be bigger. So we have to work on that. Then there is the second element, which is about all this fourth industrial revolution, and artificial intelligence and technology, they are taking jobs away. But you bet, from whom? Not from the rich, from the poor. These are the poor people who are losing their job to technology and artificial intelligence, not the top notch. The robot and artificial intelligence also can definitely make the rich richer. Because you know what? With robots and all this, tomorrow, rich firm can do the work without people. So without even having to pay wages to people. then they will be very rich. Then another element is also, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the week, because that's really striking, is that you see the difference between the poor and the rich. Mostly it's wealth. You would have bet that one, huh? Okay? Because there are other things that do not separate the rich and the poor. And for instance, it's intelligence. I'm here talking about human intelligence. You have intelligent people among the poor and intelligent people among the rich. Less intelligent also among the two categories. But with artificial intelligence, now you can buy an extra dose of intelligence. And who can afford it? The rich. So now the rich people can be not only have more wealth than the poor, but they can also be more intelligent thanks to the artificial intelligence. So why I'm saying all that, it's because in order to make sure that we go for this inclusive growth and that we really bring all the solutions together for a better world, we need good governance and rule of law. We need good regulations, it was mentioned. And this, I think, should be at the heart of all the discussion on inclusive growth. Because without rule of law, without good governance, as I say, we're going to go for growth, we're going to drop inclusive. It is important, and sustainable development means first and foremost promotion and protection of human rights, because sustainable development is about protection and preservation of life, of all forms of life, that of the planet and that of the human and that of the animal, because this is what sustainable development is all about. So this is what is so important. Good governance, rule of law is central to all what we should do in order to find these solutions, innovative solutions, to the global, new and old problems that the world is facing. So I think that the conference was really a good opportunity, and actually it has brought together so many brilliant minds who have been discussing together, and it's important that we continue with a consensus. And we talk about the Himalayan consensus, and we need a consensus inside the countries, among all the citizens, between countries, at the world level. We need to have a consensus. And let me repeat it, we need to have a consensus on governance and rule of law in order to make sure that really we will leave no one behind. So thank you very much, all of you.